It sounds impossible, but things are worse behind the scenes at Lucasfilm than we can possibly imagine, and there's a new book telling all the juicy secrets.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Over the last few weeks, the noose has been tightening around the neck of Disney. Faith in their brands is at an all-time low. The films are not the successes they need. The Little Mermaid is an underwhelming flop. While initially successful in the US, the global box office is another story. On top of that, their upcoming film Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is setting up to underperform. The film, which needs $800 million to break even, is projected to make just about half of that, leaving Lucasfilm, another brand, losing money for Disney. Finances are so tight at Disney that there's a persistent rumor that they're selling off Lucasfilm. While that last part is just that, a rumor, there is some interesting information about the inner workings of Lucasfilm, and they're worse than we thought. But before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by us here at shopwcbs.com. It's summertime, it's getting hotter, but you have to wear something out in public, so why not wear something with style and class? World class, that is. So go to shopwcbs.com and get yourself an official WCBS t-shirt. There are dozens of choices designed by me, and all of our shirts are shipped and printed through Teespring, so you get their customer service, support, as well as the high quality each of their t-shirt carries. So go to shopwcbs.com right now to grab one of those, and since it's summer and it's so damn hot out, you might want something cool to drink. So why not drink that cool beverage out of an official WCBS pint glass? When you do, you'll become the fifth bullshitter. You can crack a cold one with us and spend your summer watching all the new world-class bullshitters content coming your way, including the return of good morning pop culture. So folks, you can click on those links below, get yourself an official WCBS piece of glassware, wear the t-shirt, and hang out with us all summer long. And now, back to the video. The mismanagement of the Star Wars brand still shocks fans to this day. The once great franchise has now become a valueless joke. The sequel trilogy cost nearly $1 billion to produce, but it cost Disney far more than money. As the films were being released, there was major concern as how the company was being run. Fans could see a glimpse of the company fading into disarray. Documentaries like The Director and the Jedi showed that The Last Jedi was created from a first draft, something that very few films attempt. Somehow, Rian Johnson convinced Kathleen Kennedy that his work could change the Star Wars landscape, and change it he did. After The Last Jedi, audiences were given an inside look at Lucasfilm through a web series that covered Star Wars Rebels. The series showed the Lucasfilm offices, with one cubicle featuring a picture of Luke Skywalker with a big red X drawn through his face. This angered the audience and had others questioning what the hell is happening inside Lucasfilm. Well, years later, there's a tell-all book, and it's telling all of that and more. A brand new behind-the-scenes book, Burn It Down, Power, Complicity, and the Call for Change in Hollywood by Maureen Ryan shed light on some of the issues facing Lucasfilm in recent years, mostly where streaming shows are concerned. The first anecdote covered in the section dedicated to Lucasfilm concerns a source known by the pseudonym Emma, who was hired to work on expanding Lucasfilm's existing IPs with a spin-off of some kind. Emma worked with a person at Lucasfilm who was given the pseudonym Derek, who she believed did not understand the assignment despite being well connected within the film and television industry. Nepotism. Emma noted that despite her hopes to make an impact on the project in question, she was mostly hired to babysit Derek as he put out subpar scripts and contributed to a chaotic set environment. It was indicated that this is one of the potential examples of the issues that have happened behind the scenes at Lucasfilm, with problems being brought to the company's attention, but not sufficiently acted upon. Why is this not surprising? Could Derek be Jonathan Kasdan, the man responsible for Solo: A Star Wars Story? The first Star Wars flop known for its major reshoots? Kasdan would also go on to work on Willow, which is cancelled after one of 3 announced seasons and has been pulled from Disney Plus because it's worth more as a tax write-off than as content for audiences to watch. This Derek character could be many people, including Dave Filoni, but nonetheless, it's not surprising, coming from modern Lucasfilm. Another anecdote concerns someone under the pseudonym Christopher who indicated that the pursuit of making movie-quality television shows often comes at the expense of television writers. While Christopher does not appear to be a Lucasfilm employee specifically, he expressed concern that the director and producers for the movies have taken the reins of these sorts of projects. Case in point, Emma noted that one Lucasfilm showrunner, presumably Derek, dismissed concerns about micromanagement of a writer because of their status as an executive. Emma also had concerns about budgets at Lucasfilm, as it seems that the company is willing to overspend on projects instead of approaching them with a fiscally sound mindset, with the budget of one project doubling and potentially further increasing following her departure. Despite that approach stemming from the confidence following the success of The Mandalorian, it may no longer fly in 2023 with Disney tightening budgets on their projects going forward. Lucasfilm has overspent on every one of their Star Wars projects. Looking at the list of the most expensive films of all time, the Star Wars sequel trilogy all sit in the top 10, with Solo: A Star Wars Story being number 14 and the upcoming Indiana Jones being number 13. On the streaming side of things, which is shrinking, the story is not much better. According to a piece released in January of this year, The Mandalorian is listed at $15 million per episode in total, costing $360 million so far. Andor is listed anywhere between $15 to $25 million per episode. Season 2, which has already been greenlit, has the same budget. Obi-Wan cost significantly less, and it shows, and it came in at $90 million for the season. And finally, The Book of Boba Fett cost $15 million per episode for a total of $105 million for the whole season. It would be interesting to learn which of the series the insider was talking about, but overall, Lucasfilm has spent far more to create something worth less over time. Lastly, author Maureen Ryan expressed concerns at a lack of diversity behind the cameras on the Star Wars films, despite heavy emphasis on the part of the shows to give women and people of color in the director's chair or the writer's pen. Every single Lucasfilm since the acquisition of the company by Disney has been directed by a white man, and only one project has been directed by a woman. Rogue Squadron by Patty Jenkins has been shelved, while another project, an untitled movie directed by writer Taika Waititi, with a story co-written by Christy Wilson Cairns, has only received intermittent updates. So it's hollow PR talk. It didn't matter in the first place. These people Lucasfilm keeps hiring aren't any good, no matter their skin color or their gender. It's worth noting that Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy noted that Rogue One is still very much in development, and it was something they would like to do, but it's unlikely that Patty Jenkins will direct at this time. The big exception remains Charmin Obaid-Chinoy's movie that will see the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey, and even though there is much greater amount of behind-the-scenes diversity and an opportunity for writers and directors, they are at the whim of the showrunners. Emma in particular felt that Derek was able to screw up because he was a white man, whereas someone else in this position would have been put in proverbial director's jail. Ultimately, this indicates that, like many companies, Lucasfilm has issues that are in need of fixing. With any hope, some of these issues have either been addressed or soon will be, as outside pressure will likely force the company's hand in some fashion. This last part seems a little personal, and somehow irrelevant to the actual reason Derek was able to get away with his poor job. Derek was either connected or had an established name. The same reason Kathleen Kennedy's job is safe. Kathleen Kennedy, a white woman, has been in the industry for decades, which has allowed her free rein in her work based on her achievements of the past. Being in charge of a sinking ship doesn't seem to hurt her job security. It seems like that's the case for Derek, too. This book couldn't come at a worse time for Disney. Things are bad across the board, and Lucasfilm is worthless. Their movies are pricey, their shows aren't keeping streaming afloat, and the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel is deader than disco. The reports of Lucasfilm being sold off to recoup some of the $48 billion debt Disney has many denying the veracity of the claim, because the Star Wars brand is not worth the $4 billion it cost back in 2012. Star Wars has never been in this sort of predicament before. While it seems like founder George Lucas did not worry about budgets, that's not true at all. There was going to be a live-action Star Wars TV show over a decade ago, but George Lucas knew the cost was just too high. He canceled the Star Wars TV show, Star Wars Underworld, which would have kept the prequels alive. Back in 2005, George Lucas used Star Wars Celebration 3 as the opportunity to make a thrilling announcement. He revealed he was planning to make a big-budget live-action Star Wars TV series. The show had the working title of Star Wars Underworld. Sadly, this project never happened. Scripts were commissioned, but the production proved too expensive, and it was eventually shelved. Lucas told cable network G4 that the project was in a holding pattern as the team looks for a different type of technology we can use so it's economically feasible to shoot the shows. He explained that the television shows have to be produced for 1/10 of the cost of movies, but the ability to make the show credible at that cost doesn't exist yet. Without giving a possible timeline, he called for the development of a cheaper production technology, a very difficult process. For all of his perceived faults, George Lucas understood the business aspect of his empire. Without George Lucas, Lucasfilm pushed forward with their massively expensive productions, and disaster ensued. Quick example, last year's Top Gun Maverick cost roughly half of what The Mandalorian has cost so far, and it has grossed almost $1.5 billion. According to a report from this year, The Mandalorian has actually lost money, to the tune of $2 million. For all the hype, the show still loses money for Lucasfilm. This look into Lucasfilm has showed the company has been mismanaged for quite some time now. It's not just angry fans on the internet, but a published book making these claims. These all contribute to the nightmare scenario plaguing Disney. Will they right the ship, or are things past the point of saving for Star Wars? I want to know what you think. All of this information lines up with everything we've learned about Disney, Lucasfilm in the past, especially when it comes to money and profitability. Like our other videos have said, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny has cost almost $300 million, and it needs $800 million just to break even, a feat that Hollywood has pretty much given up on at this point. A business cannot be run like this for a long period of time before it becomes valueless, and well, that's exactly where Lucasfilm is. Star Wars hasn't produced quality content to keep people hooked, and that lack of quality content is really expensive. There are theatrical films that cost less than one episode of The Mandalorian. Many of the Blumhouse horror films cost less than one episode of The Mandalorian and produce profits 10 times their budget. Historically, horror is a cheaper genre, but no matter what genre you're producing in, the budget is important. And Lucasfilm, well, they haven't treated it like that. So folks, I want to know what you think. 3 questions below. 1, were you surprised at the price of these projects? 2, what do you think about our insider? And 3, who do you think Derek is? I definitely want to know that one, so let me know down in the comments below. But folks, I'll be back next time with more. Before you go, hit that thumbs up button and let everybody know that you like WCBS by hitting share. But also too, check out our other videos on the Lucasfilm debacle, Indiana Jones, Marvel, and a whole lot more. So folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more, but in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.
Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry because there's more, a lot more from World Class Bullshitters. And there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from World Class Bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on World Class Bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from World Class Bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of World Class Bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.